Good morning, everyone. I see you're coming in. Good morning, Real Thing. Washington News, Carrie Bella, The Few That See. Yeah, I'll read you as you come in, at least for a few here, so that I can acknowledge you. I know I very rarely do that. I'm usually in some big hurry. Crystal Clear, Elizabeth Garcia, Motorsport ADV, Barry White. Barry, what are you doing here? Well, I'm glad to see you haven't given up on me altogether here. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm Roy Potter. This is the live stream version of the Potter Expositor. And it's kind of informal this morning. I wanted to make the announcement that I'll do, my formal, if there is one, live stream tomorrow morning. That's March 6th at 8 a.m. Mountain Time. Again, that's 7 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Central, and 10 a.m. Eastern. And we're going to cover the hardcore subjects that I think we need to tomorrow. That's not what this one's for. This one is to give another review of first of all, to make the announcement that we'll do the live stream tomorrow. Well, morning sunshine. Well, thank you, Renz. Is that how you say Renee? I'm sorry, Renee Fagan. Thank you very, very much. That's very kind of you. So, the purpose of this one is to make sure that I make the announcement for tomorrow morning. I'm doing some things today that I should be able to do that live stream tomorrow with no trouble. But next week, I'm being told after the procedure they're going to do next week that I probably will be out of commission for at least a week, if not two. It's nothing serious. It's something I should have taken care of a long time ago, dental-wise. So I'll just let you know that that's what's happening, and I'm sure I will not be able to talk. At least I'll not be in any condition to do so. So next week, probably nothing. Maybe some videos up where I just type the words and have some music in the background, that kind of thing, if something is going on that I think needs to be covered. So I just got a message from a friend of mine. He said he just got banned from eBay for selling grease. This is really getting out of hand. And if anybody else that's listening wants to send me a text, I do get those friends of mine who have my numbers. And if you have something important, we'll talk about it as well as what comes up on the chat. So again, hello everybody. Tomorrow morning I'll be doing that live stream. Next week, don't count on seeing me much, as I just said. And so I wanted to bring this live stream this morning to say that, and also to talk a little bit about my absolutely incredible visit yesterday with Steve Motley. I didn't get into any real detail. I put up that short live stream that lasted maybe 2 minutes with he and I in the frame talking a little bit. And then there was, Steve put up several others during the day and really went into some detail. And I kind of wanted to talk about those. And what I see our relationship as being, so that you'll know where I'm coming from. And I think Steve would agree with me on this. Steve and I were officers in the military. He was a Marine. I was in the Army. And, you're taught in command staffs to put together courses of action for the commander. And you always come up with at least 3 courses of action, okay? Now, you can kind of organize them to kind of push the commander in the way you think he should go. That's common. But what you don't want in a staff is agreement across the board. You don't want an echo chamber. That's taught in the military. Now, realistically, because of egos and things like that, many times that doesn't occur. And I've seen that happen, and sometimes terrible results occur because of that. But where I'm going with this is that during our talk yesterday, I could see that Steve and I agree on, probably about 90% of everything that we both look into. And there's going to be 10% where we're not. And that's good. That's not a bad thing. And I'm sure Steve will agree with me on that. There are some things you need to have, a counter to in order to find out. Marines are a branch of the Army. Oh, no. Marines are part of the Navy, and they're really even separate from the Navy in a lot of ways. Okay, so no, the Marines and the Army are 2 different services. I just saw that. Sorry, I should have just let it go, but I just had to, So at any rate, I think you're going to find that Steve and I put together, when we get to it, some really interesting things, and I think you're going to like it. But we're going to have that balance as well. And if we did agree on everything, that's when you'd have to look out for us. Okay, that would not be realistic. But we'll treat each other as gentlemen. I mean, if for no other reason than there was a declaration of Congress, right? Because of a declaration of Congress, we're considered honorable officers, an officer and a gentleman, and all that. That's by an edict, not necessarily because of who we are. But I think in this case, you can trust that is in fact the case. Now, somebody said something about North Korea there. Yeah, that's a boondoggle. There's so many boondoggles right now, it's crazy. Okay, so just to let you know that's going to happen. The conversation yesterday covered so many things. It covered his life. He talked about how he grew up and the things he did in the military and otherwise. And I told him about mine. And we just had a great time. We had breakfast, and it was really a lot of fun. So anyway, where I thought it was really cool, and I brought it up on Twitter, and he brought it up on his broadcast yesterday, was that we've crossed paths several times in our lives, not just in the military. This is crazy. And I wanted to bring this up on YouTube this morning so that you would know about it in case you missed it. I'd show you the picture that I took at this situation, but it's on my phone and it wouldn't come across very well. But what happened was I was a senior in high school, and I was in Naval Junior ROTC. And this event happened in my senior year. I had a friend, a very close friend, who was a senior at the Hargrave Military Institute in Chatham, Virginia. And what he did was he invited me down to the military ball for the school and to take part in that. And I had to come in uniform, of course, because all the people there had to be in uniform. Except maybe the local mayor or governor or whoever would show up. But so I wore my naval junior ROTC uniform, and I took my girlfriend, who later I married, as a matter of fact, and we went down to Chatham, Virginia for the ball. And there's a picture of myself with my girlfriend there at the ball, at where they took the pictures for everyone. The little portraits they take of the couples. Anyway, during the conversation, I find out Steve mentions that he was at Hargrave Military Institute, that's where he went to high school. And I go, I was thinking it was Chatham Military Institute, but Chatham is the name of the city. And he corrected me on that. He says, no, it's Hargrave. And I said, that's right. It's Chatham, Virginia. Hargrave. I said, I went down there for military ball. And he goes, what? And I said, yeah, it was 1971, and I went with my girlfriend at the invitation from my friend, and I was there, and he goes, I was there at that ball in 1971. Whoa, we're going, this is freaky, this is like crazy. So, I just had to tell that story again. I'd show you the picture of the portrait of myself and the girlfriend, but it'd be kind of hard to put it on here right now. Anyway, I sent it to him. As soon as that was all over, our meeting, I went and I started digging, and one of my kids actually found the picture and sent it to me on the phone. So that was just incredible. Well, we've also crossed paths apparently in South America and possibly in the East, the Far East in Asia. It didn't look like we had crossed any paths in Europe, I don't think. But who knows? After we get to talking some more, we might find out that's the case. And there were some other things, but that crossing paths in high school, that was crazy. I was like whoa, that was almost providential, like it was meant to happen later. And I think that's how we both felt yesterday. I certainly did. So, we're slightly different personalities, another good thing. Steve is very flamboyant, and, what would you expect from a Marine, right? He's a hard charger. And he started a couple of important things, which I meant to bring up, and I didn't. He has redpill.com, in case you all don't know about that, where you can go and look up people who you can count on to give you good information. That's kind of what it is. and I was honored enough to be put on that list. That might be questionable, but the point is it's a good website, and he has some other things going on too, which I think, as a hard charger, he's going to do those good actions, and so I'm really happy about that. So anyway, I just wanted to tell that story this morning and let you know how that went again. And I'm very, very much looking forward to us getting together again. We might do it on the web, do those live streams types of things where we can both be on at the same time. I'm not sure how that's going to work. But I am not averse to going to Boise and spending time there. I travel a lot anyway, as most everybody knows. I don't have one place that I am, which was a really nasty problem for the deep state. Because even though they can track you electronically, if they want to do, an on the ground gang stalking, that's a little hard for them to do with me. At least it has been. And that might be changing here pretty soon. I don't know. But that's been a real interesting, I'm going to call it a game, since my Boston bombing massacre video. Since I did that series, I've had a little problem with that. And especially after Bundy Ranch, that's when it got really hairy. And unnecessarily so. They're after true patriots, true Americans that are just trying to restore the constitutional republic and live by the Constitution. And rather than do that, they support these really leftist organizations. Well, you know how it is. I'm not going to mess a lot of time here, take a lot of time to explain that. But they harass good Americans, put them on domestic terrorist lists, no-fly lists. Harass the heck out of them. They actually took out. They got into at least one of my email accounts, and I'm sure they did this from a grand jury. Probably not a grand jury, but under the investigation. One of my entire email accounts was slipped away. They got in, they took that, and I'm sure they took my phone information. And there's nothing there. I don't belong to any militias, and there are a lot of reasons for that. Not that I'm against the idea of a militia, the whole idea of the Second Amendment and what the militia is supposed to be in the Constitution, but because I'm not. I spent 28 years in a regimented society, the military off and on. And so to submit myself to that at this point, I just wasn't ready for that. But certainly, neighborhood protection, teaching people how to defend themselves and things like that, of course, that's all good. But at any rate, so it's been a real pain in the butt, and I'd run into them on the road, not literally, but different places. If I hung around somewhere too long, they'd show up, and sometimes they want me to see them to give me a little bit of concern, which it didn't really. I just got annoyed more than anything else. Or they would try to hide it, but I'm pretty good at spotting them. So a number of times that didn't work out too well for them, as I've talked about before. Okay. Well, I think that's probably all I really needed to talk about this morning. Like I said, I could get into some deep subjects. Somebody brought up North Korea. We could talk about the Second Amendment. We could talk about, I did that little video on the tariffs the other night. Shalom, shalom. And I know I'm not Jewish, okay? I'm not a Zionist. I studied Hebrew, as most of you know by now, and I study the Old Testament in Hebrew, and I study the New Testament in Greek, okay? And I used to be able to study in Latin, like read Josephus in the original language, but that's a little tough now. I took that a long time ago, but at any rate, so yeah, shalom just means peace, basically, is what it means. So it's a good thing. And Jesus spoke Aramaic, of course, which was a form of Hebrew. It's kind of like a dialect of Hebrew. And when they did their formal prayers, their daily prayers, they would say them in the original Hebrew, in the biblical Hebrew, not in the Aramaic. So when you see television programs where they're praying in Aramaic, they didn't do that. At least not the stalwarts, not the people like Qumran, the Essenes, or Jesus himself, or the people that were trying to approach God in a very holy way. They would speak the Hebrew. So just so you know, but it is nice to hear the Aramaic. It's a pretty language in my estimation. So, any rate, yeah, we'll cover some pretty stiff topics tomorrow. Oh, somebody just I missed that, but oh yeah, I saw a whole thing in Hebrew there. Yeah, no, wait a minute. The Talmud and Kabbalah is twisted in Jewish mysticism. Well, let's touch that, okay? The Talmud is a commentary on the Jewish religion, on its laws, on all of those things. Jesus talked about the legalese of the Pharisees, and that basically became the Talmud, just so you know. It would explain some scriptures, but in fact it did put up stakes where you couldn't go so far because they were afraid you'd go against one of the commandments. But the Talmud did have some really bad things, and I don't want to get into that here too much right now, but the Talmud has some very bad things, especially if you're not, of the chosen race. If you're Goyim, they can do things to you very much similar to what the Islamicists say they can do if you're an infidel. So the fact of the matter is that Islam, as I've said this before, I've gone through some of these things before, that the Talmud was the basis for a lot of what turned up in the Quran and into Islamic law, as well as Christianity. They kind of placed the two together because it was an amalgamation of two religions, and a lot of Islamicists are going to get upset about that, but it was a synthesis of those two religions is what it was. And it was encouraged by no less than the Roman Empire, historically. So that should tell you a lot. And of course you see the New World Order using Islam today to, and I'm not saying all Islamic people are bad, most of them just don't really understand their history or what's going on there. But yeah, they're using Islam as the basis for the New World Order religion because it's so controlling, it's so regulated. Well, you see, I don't have to go into any details. So anyway, I just thought I'd say that since somebody brought it up. And Israel, as I've talked about before, I see people bringing that up. Israel could have been behind 9/11. Yeah, I think not all of Israel, but a portion of it, like in our deep state, our black ops. And we've talked about that before as well. The people that run Israel today, and I've talked about this before again, okay, using the name Israel for this state of Israel is not correct biblically, historically, or prophetically, and that's going to raise all kinds of Cain amongst a lot of people. But if you talk to really good Orthodox Jews, they'll tell you the same thing. So, but I say it from an historical perspective, and the fact that this Israel doesn't do what the Israel of God is supposed to do. It was designed by the Balfour Declaration, by the Rothschilds, by basically the British intelligence agencies. And, it does not do what Israel is supposed to do. It does quite the opposite, as a matter of fact. But the people that run the present-day Israel, the power brokers there, are really the same people that run Saudi Arabia. They're all Edomite Arabs. And that's going to really piss off a bunch of people, but it just happens to be true. That's why when they say, we've checked the DNA of current-day Jews, and it's the same DNA that we had in the time of Jesus and all that. Well, that's because the people that were running Judea and even Galilee at the time were Edomite Arabs. The Herodians were, and they were put into power by the Romans. Does anybody see how this is working out here? Yeah, I know a lot about it. So you're going to get the same DNA, but that doesn't mean they're actually Judahites from ancient Israel. That doesn't correlate. It just doesn't. So anyway, we'll get into the religious side of it at some point. A lot of people have asked me to give a series on all this, and I'll probably do that. But right now we have more important things to do, in my estimation, and that is to try to save the Republic. So, and this is one of the places where Steve and I probably have a slight disagreement. I love what Donald Trump stands for. I love what he campaigned on. The fact that he loves women is not a detriment in my estimation. He should be honorable to his wife, right? Of course. I mean, who wouldn't want to be honorable to Melania? I mean, my gosh. I mean, she's incredible, intelligent. Everything she does is just amazing. But I understand there's some problems going on with this Hope Hicks deal. That could be disinformation. It could totally be a lie. I don't know, but his former relationships and things, in my estimation, my understanding of biblical scripture, he didn't do anything wrong. And that we can talk about that during the religious thing. But the point I'm making is that I have a lot of respect for Donald Trump, and he's in a very, very difficult position, and I know that. But there are some things happening that if we admit it to ourselves, that's really dangerous. This entire Second Amendment push, and I know there was a member of the NRA, a guy who went in after this NRA statement that Trump made, and also going on with Feinstein, went in there and talked to him, and then came out and says, "Oh no, he's still for the Second Amendment." Well, okay, well let's make sure that stays that way. But what I saw deeply concerned me, as it has many others, like Sean in Sargent Report, and others. So, I'm not the only one that's seeing a problem here. And we can't allow Trump to get off the rails. We can't. And so merely being a cheerleading squad for Trump is not sufficient to save the republic, because he needs to see that we stand fast in the original promises of the campaign and in the principles of the constitutional republic. So like I did when I was in the military or on the police department or in private business, whatever, if I see something that I think is a problem, I'm not going to go along with the choir. Okay? Matter of fact, I got kicked out of a choir. Can you believe that? I'll tell you about that story one day. I'm going to call it like I see it, and I'm going to say, wait a minute, this is a problem. And we've got a problem with this Second Amendment thing, and I'm really worried about where it's going. So, but we'll talk about all that tomorrow. My point is, again, I love what Trump is. I love what he stands for. I'm behind him in his righteous endeavors. If I said it any other way, I'd be a cheerleader, okay? And I'm not. So when he gets off the rails, I'm going to say so. Now, a lot of people say, well, as a matter of fact, somebody did this morning. I finally blocked her. Well, actually, there's a picture on Twitter of this. I won't tell you who it was, but a beautiful girl, and going by the name of Dawn, and this person is just berating me. I don't know anything. I don't know all this and all this stuff. That doesn't matter. Even if I didn't, I still have a right to say, right? But I don't think it's really a girl. Sometimes the trolls will put up pictures of girls so that you're kind of reticent to act against them. And then I had this other guy that was giving me trouble, and him I haven't blocked yet, but I blocked this particular one like this morning. I finally said, nah, you're out of here. Because that's just impolite and it's ridiculous. So, no, I don't know everything, but I've been around, and I've seen a lot, and I know what to expect from our leaders. And the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, is in violate in my understanding of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. They are in violate. They were placed there so that they are protections against a government gone corrupt and rogue. Not so that you can go out and shoot a deer, or not so that necessarily you can go and just, scream out, foul words, although that's protected too in most instances. But it's to keep the government in line, so you can't be doing censorship. And as I said the other day, YouTube, Twitter, Google, Facebook are all tools of the CIA. They appear to be private corporations, but they're really run by the intelligence community. Okay, so they're really not free platforms, and they say that, and I think you all know that now. And so really, where's Sessions? Why aren't they going after these companies for antitrust violations and for they should be declaring them public utility platforms at the very least. So there are problems that are going on. And Trump's not addressing those. I mean, he talks about how the MSM is bad, but he never goes to the next step and say, well, it's the IC. Well, okay, well, maybe he doesn't want to go there publicly. I understand that. But then to turn on the Second Amendment and totally avoid the pharmaceutical issue in all these mass shootings, because is that because the economy does well? Is that because there are more drugs sold than guns, and so he's balancing, which part of the economy is going to do the best? we can't play diplomacy with the Second Amendment. We cannot do it. And I have a very good friend in California. I've talked about him before. He's a Republican. Well, he's actually a libertarian more than anything else, but he's a member of the Republican Party. And he talks about the necessity to maybe do some things about the access of weapons. Okay, we'll talk about that. But I see a knee-jerk reaction going on in D.C., as always, because that's when they can get things done, when the people are all upset and calling for all this nonsense, forgetting about the fact that governments have killed millions and millions and millions of their own people. And I'm not talking about just wars, between states. I'm talking about internal conflicts like in China, purges in China and in the Soviet Union and places like that, Pol Pot in Cambodia. And we could go on and on. Governments are the real danger. And that's why the Second Amendment's in place there. So, yeah, we're going to talk about that in some more detail. And the fact that Trump is still not, he could call for as a matter of fact, I heard through the grapevine that he had called on the Marine Corps, I believe it was, or at least some military, to do a separate investigation into the Parkland shooting. I don't know if that was true or not. I haven't. His statements in that committee, or not a committee, but that meeting with all those senators and congressmen, et cetera, where he was with Dianne Feinstein, didn't lead me to believe that, in fact, that was happening, that there was this military investigation. But, we know that LV was not what the official narrative says. We know now, there were indications prior to, but now we know that there were other anomalies in the Parkland deal. And to blame the Second Amendment on those incidents on the Second Amendment is totally inappropriate, even for President Trump. And I'll just say it publicly, okay? That's just the way it is. We need to see him unveil what the IC, what the intelligence community, the Broward County Sheriff's Office, the school district down there in Parkland, all these people did in this situation, and it needs to be exposed. It needs to go out so that the American people are going to be, that's another excuse. Oh, we can't tell the American people because they're not ready for this. Well, they're never going to be ready for it, okay? They're never going to be ready for it. And to think that you can change them without a shocking experience is wrong. Why do you think, here's an argument for you guys that think that Trump needs to delicately explain this to the public. Why is it that the deep state doesn't operate that way, that the IC doesn't operate that way, that the New World Order doesn't operate that way? How do they change public opinion? Do you know? 9/11, right? Sandy Hook, right? Parkland, the Riverside shooting, on and on. They do it with shock. That's how they operate. Now, is that a good way to do it? Well, for them it is. So why is it that the people can be expected to handle those shocks but can't be expected to hear the truth? Because they've been dumbed down for so long? Well, most of them don't understand any of this anyway. 17,000 sealed indictments. I keep hearing about that. I didn't mean to get into this much depth today, but I'll touch that. We don't know what they are. None of you know what they are. Now, we can make, with some circumstantial evidence, what they are, where they're being, where they're located, those types of things. But you really don't know what they are. Now, and then who's doing it? Well, if Trump signed, and he signed the executive order on December 21st about taking the assets of human traffickers, resource stealers, corruption, that kind of thing. And then he signed the update, the clarification on the UCMJ just the other week. And I put out some information on Twitter, and I think I did it here too, maybe I didn't, that Betsy and Thomas of American Intelligence Media, Thomas did an excellent explanation of what that is, and he's right. But it really, you can't expect that to be the thing, the end all. Okay, everybody's saying, well, see, he's moving forward with this. They upgrade these different administrative procedures on a regular basis. I'm sure that, actually, Obama did do it. So these things are upgraded on a normal schedule anyway. So it doesn't necessarily mean that there's a big thing coming. All right? It just doesn't. I would hope so. If any of you have followed me for any length of time, I said that the only way to fix this country is for the military to be held to the Constitution, but for the president to use it to stop what the deep state and the IC is doing. And he can do that with these tools. He can. So what are these indictments really about? If, in fact, he's setting up military tribunals, what are the indictments for? That's an entirely different part of the system. It doesn't work that way, ladies and gentlemen. Do you understand? So I'm not sure who's behind these indictments, these sealed indictments. And I made the point the other day, how do we know that they're not deep state operatives in the Department of Justice coming after conservatives? And then there were some people that brought up some legitimate arguments. Well, it probably isn't that for these different reasons. But the point is we don't know. And if Trump knows, which I think is the fact, that he has to use the military tribunals because the court system is so corrupt, the purpose of the indictments, as far as I can tell, is negated for his use, because that's not how the system works. Do you see what I'm saying? All right. I suppose that it's possible, and maybe some lawyer out there can explain it to me. But if the indictments can be transferred over into the military system, okay. But I think that would be a point of review. I don't think that they could make any arrests on those indictments, the military, I'm saying. It would still have to go through a military tribunal review process, in my estimation. So you lawyers out there, you can banter about that. So at any rate, I don't care about the sealed indictments anymore until I see somebody collared. And Trump could throw us a bone. Because he knows that this argument is going on out here in society between the conservatives, over the Second Amendment problem, over the fact that nobody's been collared, anywhere along the line. And I'm not even asking for him to go after, which he could, go after Hillary or Comey or any of those. Why not just somebody in the State Department that did this, Russia collusion thing, set up this stuff, or the Uranium One deal, or any number of things in between. They don't need to go after the big fish. They could go get one person that's done something, treasonous, illegal, criminal, and say, we're moving on it. But they haven't even done that. With 17,000 sealed indictments, not one arrest. There's a problem here. I have to admit it. There's a problem. Okay? You think that Trump can fool with drama the deep state? Do you really think the deep state, the bad side of it, is that stupid? No. Stop thinking that this drama, this pretense that you think Trump is doing to hide from the American people what's really going on and to fool the deep state into his real plan. No. They're not that stupid, I'm telling you. Okay? They know what he's doing. Why do you think they're moving on the censorship? Why do you think they're trying to get wars started around the world? Okay? If Trump's for real, and I think he is, he needs to get back on the program. He needs to open up and tell the American people the truth. Bedamn their feelings. Because it's going to go bad if we don't. So there we are. And that's how I feel about it, and we'll cover more about that tomorrow, okay? Man, I've been going on for a half an hour here, a little over. Let's see. Yeah, this whole thing, there's a lot of saber rattling going on. Somebody's saying, well, Putin's threatening with nukes too. Yeah, well, we are. I mean, what do you expect? And this is a tragedy. I don't understand in my mind. I don't even know how political people can think about even the possibility of murdering millions and billions of people. That's beyond my comprehension, and it's wrong to do that. I look at people and I see the beauty in it. People talk about the beauty of the universe and the beauty of a mountain and all that. I see this beauty in people, especially women, of course. Women are just absolutely, well, not all of them, but, that was the crown of creation. Woman was the crown of creation as far as I'm concerned. Okay, I'm rambling on here. Agreed. Motorsport ADV agrees with me on that. Okay, yeah, where's Tony Podesta? Where's John Podesta? Well, for all I know, they're on a Caribbean island, hiding out. Are they a Gitmo? I'm not saying they aren't. But publicly, we need to know that something's going on to get these people. You're being shadow banned on Facebook, Gordon. Well, that's happening to a lot of us and worse. They actually deleted a couple of my videos over the last year. I found out there was another one, because I don't go back and look, but there's another one that was missing. Actually, 3 of them now. So they've taken down 3 of them claiming that I did it, that the user did it. No, I've never taken down a video, ever. The only time I've done that is when I made a mistake in the upload, and I saw it, and then I re-uploaded it. But I've never taken a video down that, you know, and not put it back up. I've never done that. Okay, so they are doing it. With me, I'm not sure why they're handling my situation different, but they are. Right, somebody said, I just hope the executive order isn't prepped for martial law on us. Yes, and I think you have to realistically look at that. I'm sorry, but that's called contingency planning. What if these 17,000 indictments are for conservatives? What if they're for militias? What if they're for senators and congressmen that are Republicans, that believe in liberty and all of that, and that Hillary and those left behinds in the government have been actually issuing these things? Okay, Trump's not in control. You know, he just isn't. Or he'd have Jeff Sessions towing the line, right? The FBI. I mean, he appointed Wray. Trust Wray? No, I don't trust Wray. I just don't. Is Horowitz the answer, the IG? Is he going to be the big answer? No, he's not. A lot will come out of that, as Nunes has explained, more information. But as I've heard several people say, Horowitz is looking out for himself as well. He thought that he was going to be the next, you know, FBI director or something like that. So he has an ulterior motive. You can't trust anybody at that level of government. I don't care who they are. Please stop causing divide. No, I'm not going to sit here and preach to the choir. I'm not going to do that. Because then if things do go bad, you're going to say, why didn't you tell us, Roy? Why didn't you tell us? I'm telling you different possible courses of action and the contingency plans that go along with it. If I did anything less, number 1, I'd be unprofessional. Number 2, I'd be lying to you and giving you Kool-Aid. I'm trying to give you the tools to think logically and to see this in a military way. Like I say, Steve Motley and I aren't going to agree on everything. My God, I hope we never agree on everything, because that'll mean that one of us has been compromised. So this isn't divide. This is telling you to keep your radar on, to keep your situational awareness alive, to prep, pray, stay out of the way, to love your man as yourself, to love your fellow man as yourself, to be willing to lay down your life for your fellow man is the greatest love a person can have. Am I willing to let you attack my character because I'm warning you about these things? Because I've seen them over a period of my life. You know, a lot of people say, gee, Roy, when you were in the military, why didn't you stand up, and when you saw all these things going bad, why didn't you do something? Ladies and gentlemen, how do you know I didn't? The fact is I did. And Steve Motley and I talked about that yesterday. Just a couple of the examples where I did do that. You know, so you draw anti-Trump trolls. Well, why do they come here? Because of what I say. See, there's a psyop going on here. Absolutely, there's a psyop. The question is, who's conducting it? It ain't me. It ain't me. Okay, 40 minutes is too long. I'm going. Yeah, HR 50. Yeah, okay, we've got to talk about a lot of stuff. I'm done today. Thanks for coming. I appreciate you coming here. I hope that this all ends well, but I don't think it's going to go quite as smoothly as a lot of us would like. God bless the Constitutional Republic of the United States of America. God bless the Second American Revolution and the restoration that we're trying to accomplish of the Constitutional Republic of the United States of America. And as I always say, God bless Donald Trump in his righteous endeavors. If I have time, I always add that little bit on the back there, because that's the way it has to be. We need to keep track of it. We don't want to set these people, these personalities so up high, as I said to somebody on Twitter this morning. We don't want to put them so high up on a pedestal we can't see what they're doing. We need to keep them down where we can watch them, because power corrupts, right? And Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Doesn't matter who it is. That's why the Constitution was set into place, because the Founding Fathers understood that you have to chain down this apparatus of government and the people that are in there. It doesn't matter who it is. Principle, not personality. I am not a cult worshiper of personality. I am a respecter of principle. And as far as a person aligns themselves with principle, they have my support. Beyond that, I'm not going to worship them merely because of who they are. All right? Just not going to happen. And I've talked about that. All right, everybody. Take care. Thanks for coming. Tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., I'm going to do that live stream, okay? We'll get into some more stuff that's heavy. I didn't mean this to go